You have been carrying a heavy load in your mind, worrying too much, stressing, and going over every little thing, trying to solve what only God can fix. But hear this truth today. The weight you are carrying is not for you to bear. God is already working out the small things. He is already in your future. He's already taking care of it. Overthinking is a trick from the enemy designed to steal your peace, your clear thinking, and your trust. But today, God is saying, let it go. I have this. This message is for the tired mind, the sad heart, the restless spirit. It is time to stop trying to control everything and start trusting the one who already holds everything in his hands. So, if you've been stuck in your thoughts trying to fix what only heaven can sort out, this is your special wake call. God is already taking care of it. Now take a breath and pay attention. There comes a time in your life when you must accept the simple but freeing truth: you are not in charge. And I know that is hard to believe, especially if you are the type of person who likes to fix things, solve problems, and think many steps ahead. You like to plan, guess what will happen, and provide answers. But what do you do when all your plans do not fix the problem? What do you do when no matter how much you think, worry, or check, it still does not change what happens? That is when you must remember this truth: your mind cannot fix what only God can finish. We wear ourselves out trying to solve what was never meant to be our job in the first place. We overthink, we stress, we try to force the results, all because we think we are being responsible. But what if I told you that some of what you carry is not responsibility? It is control dressed up as worry. Let me remind you of this: if it is God's work, it is not your burden. If God began something in your life, it is His job to complete it. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who started a good work in you will carry it on until it is fully complete on the day of Christ Jesus." That means if He started it, He will finish it. If He called you, He will give you what you need. If He opened the door, He will keep you safe through it. But here is the problem. Too many of us are trying to take control of things that were never meant to be in our hands. You are losing sleep over something God already settled in heaven. You are going over old talks, trying to make sense of something that only makes sense from a spiritual point of view. You have gotten trapped in a cycle of overthinking because you are trying to figure it all out. You are saying, what if it fails? What if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough? But let me ask you, when has worrying ever changed the outcome? When has stress ever fixed the problem? Worry does not create solutions. It just steals your strength. It drains your happiness, and it makes it hard to hear God clearly. God never asked you to figure everything out. He asked you to trust Him. That is what faith is: not knowing every step, but believing God is in every single one. That is what peace is: not the lack of problems, but the presence of the one who has already solved them. So, I need you to take a deep breath right now and say this clearly: God is already handling it. Say it again: God is already handling it. You don't have to carry the weight of the world. You don't have to solve what only heaven can fix. You don't have to stay awake all night wondering how it will all work out. If God started this, He will finish it. If He called you to it, He will bring you through it. You don't need to control the result. You just need to listen, trust, and rest. Remember this: peace is not found in knowing every detail. Peace is found in knowing who your Father is. So stop overthinking. Stop looking back at the past. Stop guessing the worst. God has already gone ahead of you, and He is working even when you cannot see it. So breathe and walk in peace, because God is already handling it. How many nights have you stayed up going over the same situation again and again in your mind? What if it does not happen? What if I fail? What if everything I hope for just falls apart? Let me ask you something real: has worrying ever made things better? Has anxiety ever helped the result? The truth is, worry does not solve problems. It just steals your energy. It wears you out. It leaves you drained. And here is the deeper truth: God never told you to figure it all out. He told you to trust Him. But some of us are caught in the trap of thinking if we just think a little harder, plan a little better, work a little longer, maybe then we can control the outcome. But that is not faith. That is trying to force things. There is a difference, a big, life-changing difference between trying to force things and trusting. Faith does not need you to fully understand. Faith says, God, I don't know how, but I trust that you will. Let us go back to the story of Peter walking on the water. He did the impossible. He walked on the very thing that should have drowned him. Not because he had everything figured out, but because his eyes were fixed on Jesus. But the moment he looked at the wind, the waves, the storm around him, the moment he started overthinking, he began to sink. And isn't that just like us? Overthinking will always make you sink. Not because God failed you, but because you changed your focus. Because you depended on your own thoughts instead of trusting the one who called you. Some of you are sinking right now, not because you are weak, not because you are unworthy, but because you are trying to carry something you were never meant to hold. You are carrying burdens that belong to God. And here is the truth. When you try to carry what only God can handle, it will crush you. It will overwhelm you. Why? Because that weight was never yours to bear. Someone needs to hear this today. Put it down. Stop trying to fix what only God can finish. Stop carrying a burden that heaven already lifted. You are not your own provider, God is. You are not your own protector, God is. You are not the one holding your future, He is. Now breathe, let go, and choose trust over control. Choose rest over being restless. Because the peace you are looking for doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from giving up control to the one who does. And He is saying to you right now, I have this. Stop overthinking. I am already handling it. Let me remind you of something that will change your whole view. God is the writer of your life story, and if He started it, He is loyal to finish it. That alone should help you breathe easier. But we struggle with that, don't we? Because deep down we want to be in charge. We want answers. We want things to move on our timeline. We feel the pressure of needing things right now. But God works to the rhythm of forever, not the rush of the earth. So here is the truth. You need to change how you think. Instead of trying to fix everything, trust Him. Instead of trying to control everything, give it up. Instead of going through every possible situation in your mind, remind yourself, God is already handling it. Let us bring it closer to home. What is that one thing you have been overthinking lately? That one situation you keep replaying, trying to find the perfect solution, the right time, the best outcome. Right now, I want you to do something very simple but powerful. Take a deep breath and let it out. Tell yourself, I don't have to fix this. God is already working. It might not look like it. It might not feel like it. But faith is not about what you see. It is about what you know. And here is what you need to know. God has not forgotten you. He has not left you. He has not left you to figure this out alone. He is already working. When Jesus was on the cross, He did not say, you finish it. He did not say, you go figure it out. He said, it is finished. And if He could complete the greatest work of all time, the work of saving you, then surely He can finish the good work He began in your life. So stop overthinking. Stop trying to force what has already been settled in heaven. Stop wearing yourself out trying to figure out what only God can complete. Your mind is powerful, but it was never meant to carry what only God can finish. Let go. Trust Him and give Him the space to do what only He can do. You see, part of our problem is this. Uncertainty makes us uneasy. We want to know. We want clarity. We want to see everything clearly before we even take the first step. But faith does not work like that. If you had all the answers, you would not need to trust God. So instead of running after clarity, start of running after confidence in God. Instead of demanding all the facts, rest in the fact that the designer knows the whole plan. You may feel stuck right now. You may feel slowed down, but being slow is not being denied. God is never late. His timing is perfect. And here is the powerful truth. When you stop forcing your plan and start trusting God's way, peace will follow. Because His plan is not rushed. His pace is not stressed. And His purpose will never be stopped by your timeline. So breathe, trust, release. God's got this. His timing will always be better than your urgency. Let Him finish what He started. We live in a world that tells us we need to have everything figured out before we make a move. We want answers. We want certainty. We want the full map before we take the first step. But let me remind you of something deep. If you could figure it all out, you would not need faith. If you knew every step of the journey in advance, there would be no need to trust God. Faith is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting God when you don't. Some of us have been frozen by the need for clarity. We keep telling God, "I will step out when you explain the plan. I will obey once I know how this ends. I will trust you as soon as you show me how it is going to work out." But let's be honest, that's not faith. And control is the opposite of trust. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see." Did you catch that? It does not say faith is confidence in what we understand. It does not say faith is certainty in what we can explain. Faith is about trusting in what we cannot see. There will be times when you won't have the full picture. There will be seasons when nothing makes sense. When you don't understand what God is doing or why it is happening this way. But that's when real faith is tested. That's when you must rely on His character instead of your own thoughts. And that's when you learn to walk by faith, not by sight. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his home, his family, everything familiar, and go to a land that God would show him. God did not give Abraham a full plan. There was no step-by-step guide, no visible map, just a promise and a call to obey. And Abraham had a choice. He could have waited for every detail before he moved, or he could trust the one who called him. Hebrews 11:8 says, "By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place, not knowing where he was going." Did you catch that? He went not knowing. That is faith. That is giving up control. That is trust. You don't need to solve it all. You don't need to control it all. What you need is to trust the God who sees what you cannot see, who knows what you don't know, and who already holds the final result in His hands. Let go of the pressure to have it all figured out. Let go of the idea that it all depends on you. And take that next step, not because you understand it all, but because you trust the one who does. Faith is not about being certain of the plan. It is about confidence in the planner, and He has never failed. Sometimes the only thing stopping you from what God promised is your need to understand everything before you obey. But here is the truth: God did not call you to understand. He called you to trust. Look at Abraham. When God told him to leave his home, his comfort zone, and go to a land He would show him, God did not hand him a map. There was no full plan, no timeline, no GPS, just one word: go. And Abraham had a decision to make. He could have waited for every detail, every answer, every reassurance, or he could take that first step into the unknown. Hebrews 11:8 says, "By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going." Did you hear that? He went out not knowing. That is faith. That is giving up control. That is what trust looks like. Faith is not about moving when you understand everything. It is about moving because you trust the one who gave the command. It is choosing to step forward even when the path ahead is unclear. It is believing that God knows exactly where He is leading you, even when you don't have a clue. But let us be honest, many of us are stuck. Not because God has not spoken, but because we are still trying to figure it all out. We are caught in cycles of overthinking. We say we are waiting on God, but really we are waiting for full clarity. We want control before we commit. But friend, that's not faith. Faith says, "I don't know the result, but I trust God with it." Faith says, "I don't see the full picture, but I will follow His voice." Peter learned this on the water. When Jesus told him to come, he stepped out of the boat and he did the impossible. He walked on water. But the moment Peter took his eyes off Jesus, the moment he started overthinking, the moment he tried to make sense of what did not make sense, he began to sink. And isn't that what happens to us? We start with faith strong. We believe God. We trust His promise. But then the wind picks up, the waves rise, the fear creeps in. And instead of focusing on the voice that called us, we focus on everything that could go wrong. We stop looking at Jesus and we start sinking into anxiety, into doubt, into confusion. Not because God failed, but because we allowed our minds to control what only faith was meant to carry. So hear this today: letting go is not weakness. It is faith, letting go of control, letting go of the need to know, letting go of the fear that has been holding you back. Because God never said, "Figure it out." He said, "Follow me." And if you will shift your focus back to Him, if you will stop staring at the wind and waves, you will realize that the same God who called you out of the boat is the one who can keep you from sinking. He is not asking for your battle plan, He is asking for your surrender. So take the step even if you don't know what is next, even if the future is not clear, because obeying is your job and outcomes are His. And you will never know what God can do through you until you let go of the need to understand and simply trust. Faith is not about having all the answers. It is not about having the plan perfectly mapped out. It is not about knowing every step before you take the first one. Faith is about trusting the one who holds the plan, even when you cannot see a thing. It is saying, God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust you. It is choosing to take the next step even when your vision is clouded. It is believing that God is guiding your feet even when you feel like you are walking through the dark. Some of us need to release the pressure of having it all figured out. We need to let go of the need to guess the result, calculate every risk, and control every part, because the truth is you are never going to have all the answers. And that is okay. God does. So what if today, instead of stressing about the unknown, you started trusting the one who knows? What if instead of going over every possible situation in your mind, you started resting in the fact that God is already in your future? What if you stopped trying to fix it and started trusting that God already has? Faith does not mean you won't feel fear. It does not mean you won't have doubts. It does not mean you will never whisper, God, are you sure about this? But what faith does mean is you don't let those doubts stop you. You move forward anyway. You take the next step anyway. You show up anyway because your trust in God is louder than the noise around you. Remember when Jesus told the followers, let's go to the other side. He did not say it would be calm. He did not say there would not be storms, but He gave them a destination. And sure enough, a storm came. The winds blew, the waves crashed, and the followers panicked. They thought they were going to drown. But Jesus, He wasn't worried because He already told them the result. We are going to the other side. Let me say it to you like this: the storm does not cancel the promise. The waves do not change the word. If Jesus said you are going to make it, then you are going to make it. He is not limited by what you see. He is not shaken by what you fear. He is not surprised by the storm. He is above it. So today, let go of the burden to understand everything. Let go of the fear that says you need to know what is next. Let go of the pressure to solve what only God can handle. And simply say, God, I trust you even when I don't see the way. Trust Him because He already knows the way, and that's all you need. Let me remind you of something you may have forgotten in the middle of your storm. God already gave the word. You are going to the other side. The winds may be howling, the waves may be high, but that storm does not cancel what God spoke over your life. Jesus wasn't shaken when the storm came. He did not panic like the followers. Why? Because He already told them the outcome. We are going to the other side. That destination did not change just because the weather did. The storm did not rewrite the promise, and neither will yours. Maybe you are overthinking again. Maybe you are trying to work out every chance, replaying every situation, waiting until everything makes sense. But let me tell you, you don't have to figure it all out. You just have to trust the one who already has. We live in a world obsessed with time limits. By 30, you should own a house. By next year, you should be in a better spot. And when it does not happen by our timetable, sadness creeps in. We start to wonder, did God even hear me? We question the silence. We measure our progress by the world's schedule instead of God's perfect timing. But here is what I need you to hear. God's delay is not God's no. Just because it hasn't happened yet does not mean it is not going to happen. Just because it did not come when you expected does not mean it won't come at all. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Not in your time, not in your schedule, not on your clock, but in His time. And His time is always right, always good, always on purpose. Some of you are tired, not because God is not moving, but because He is not moving fast enough for your liking. You have tied your peace to a calendar. But faith does not work with deadlines. It works with God's perfect arrangement. Maybe you are thinking, by now, I should have been further. But what if God is protecting you? What if He is not rushing the process because He is preparing the promise? What if what you call waiting is actually God working underneath the surface? He is not punishing you. He is putting you in place. He is not holding you back. He is holding you together. So stop measuring your progress by human timelines. Stop doubting God just because He did not move on your schedule. His plan is bigger. His timing is perfect. His vision is forever. You may not be where you thought you would be, but you are exactly where God needs you to be for what He is building next. Keep trusting. Keep walking. Keep believing. Because when God moves, it won't be rushed. It will be right. And when He fulfills His promise, it will be more beautiful than you could have ever imagined. Let us talk about timing. Not yours, but God's. Because sometimes what feels like a delay is actually God's smart strategy in action. Remember the story of Lazarus. Mary and Martha sent for Jesus because their brother was dying. They had a clear timetable in mind. They expected Jesus to drop everything and come right away. But He did not. Jesus waited. And in that waiting, Lazarus died. Can you imagine the heartache, the confusion? They must have thought, Lord, we called for you. Where were you? If only you had shown up on time. This would not have happened. But here is what they did not realize. They were asking for a healing. But Jesus had planned a resurrection. They wanted their brother to get better. But Jesus wanted the entire world to witness His power over death. If Jesus had come earlier, people might have said, maybe Lazarus just got better. But when Jesus raised him from the grave 4 days later, there was no denying this was God at work. And maybe that is where you are right now. You have prayed, you have cried, you have waited, and now you feel like it is too late. You think if God was going to come through, He would have by now. But friend, what if the delay is not denial? What if it is God's preparation for something bigger than you even asked for? You see, we experience time one moment at a time, minute by minute, day by day. But God sees the whole picture. He is not just looking at your now. He is lining up everything, your character, your surroundings for the right moment, not just the soonest moment. What you call late, God calls on time. Think about Joseph. He had a dream from God, a vision of leadership, of greatness. But before that dream came true, he was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. If anyone had a reason to ask, God, where are you? Why is this taking so long? It was Joseph. But every delay, every problem was putting him in place for the palace. Because when the famine came, Joseph was exactly where God needed him, not only to fulfill the dream, but to save a whole nation. So if you are in a season that feels like a delay, let me say this over you. God is not late. He is setting you up. He is building your story into a testimony that will shake lives. Don't hate the process. Don't complain about the wait. Don't think silence means absence. God is working while you are waiting. He is preparing the stage for something greater than you have imagined. And when He moves, when the promise finally shows up, it will be clear to everyone that it was the hand of God all along. So hold on, stay faithful. Trust His timing, because the delay is not wasted. It is filled with purpose. Let us go back to Joseph. The dream he carried was real, but so was the journey. He was chosen to lead, but not before he was betrayed, sold, falsely accused, and forgotten in prison. And yet all of it was needed, because if Joseph had been promoted too early, he wouldn't have been ready. If he had been released from prison a day too soon, he would have missed the exact moment that lined him up with Pharaoh's dream. The timing of his rise was not by chance. It was God's perfect plan. Sometimes God takes you the long way not to punish you, but to prepare you. You may want the door to open now. But what if that door leads to a weight you are not yet built to carry? You may be begging for the blessing, but what if the blessing would crush you without the character God is building in this season? We serve a God who is not in a rush. He is not worried. He is not quickly trying to meet your deadline. He holds time in His hands, and while we are busy asking, Lord, why is this taking so long? He might be gently asking, my child, why are you in such a hurry? What if your waiting is actually your training? What if this pause is God's preparation room for the very thing you have prayed for? Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting is not wasted. It is where your roots grow deep. It is where your strength is renewed, your vision made clear, your heart matured. Even Jesus, the Son of God, waited. He spent 30 years preparing for a 3-year ministry. Think about that. If Jesus wasn't rushed into his purpose, why do we feel the pressure to hurry ours? So, what do you do while you are waiting? You trust. You stay faithful. You keep believing. You don't give up preparing just because promotion has not come yet. Because when it is God's time, nothing can stop it. And when it is not God's time, nothing you do will force it to happen faster. God sees what you cannot. He knows what you don't. And He is always working even when it feels like He is silent. So instead of asking, when will it happen? Start declaring, God, I trust that you are preparing me. Instead of being upset by the delay, start praising Him for the growth. Because when God moves, it will be greater than you imagined, richer than you expected, and exactly on time. Maybe right now the pressure feels too much. You are exhausted. The weight is heavy. The responsibilities keep piling up. The battles don't seem to end. And you have whispered in your heart, I have to fix this. I have to make this work. I have to fight this battle on my own. But let me give you a truth that will set you free. The battle is not yours. It is the Lord's. You were never designed to carry this on your own. You were never asked to fight in your own strength. You are not your own provider, your own rescuer, your own deliverer. God is. Some of us are tired because we have taken on burdens God never gave us. We are trying to fix problems that only He can solve. We are swinging in a battle He already promised to win. No wonder we are tired. But today, let that weight fall off your shoulders. We were never meant to carry it. Let go of the pressure. Release the panic. Hand over the fight, because the one who never loses a battle is standing right beside you. And He is already moving. In Chronicles 20:15, God told His people, do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army. For the battle is not yours but God's. The people of Judah were looking at a hopeless situation. Armies had surrounded them. From every human point of view, they didn't stand a chance. Despair could have silenced their praise, but instead of trying to figure out a battle plan in their own strength, they turned their hearts toward God. And God replied, you don't even need to fight this one. I have already claimed the victory. That is the word someone needs right now. You have been wrestling with a problem for too long. You have been carrying stress that was never meant to sit on your shoulders. You have been trying to control results, fix broken pieces, and push through battles with everything you have left. But God is standing right there whispering, why are you carrying that? That battle belongs to me. Here is the truth. When you try to fight in your own strength, you limit what God can do through His power. You are so busy planning, fixing, organizing, and overthinking that you are not leaving any space for miracles to happen. But when you finally surrender, when you say, God, this is too big for me, but it's not too big for you, something shifts. You stop trying to force things. You stop manipulating. You stop trying to control what only God can handle. And in that moment of surrender, you make room for the supernatural. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is not rushing into battle. It is standing still and trusting that God is already moving. Think about David when he faced Goliath. The whole army of Israel was shaking in fear because they could not stop looking at how huge the giant was. But David, just a young shepherd boy, saw something different. He was not focused on the size of the threat. He was focused on the size of his God. That is why he could boldly in Psalm 17:47, the battle is the Lord's, and He will give you into our hands. David did not wear Saul's armor. He did not need a military plan. He walked into that valley but faith and a few smooth stones, because his confidence wasn't in what he carried in his hands. His confidence was in who stood behind him, and because of that faith, the victory was decided before the stone even left his sling. That is the kind of trust God is calling you into, the kind of faith that says, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I believe God is already ahead of me. The kind of peace that whispers, I don't have to carry this weight because my Father is handling it. Right now, maybe you are facing a battle in your money. Maybe there is a war going on in your home, in your relationships, or in your mental health. Maybe you are fighting silent battles that no one else even knows about, and it feels like you are running out of choices, like the weight is getting heavier by the day. But I want to remind you of this: God has never lost a battle, and He is never about to start with yours. Stop trying to fight alone. Stop trying to carry what is meant for his hands, not yours. Let go. Surrender. And watch God do what only he can do, win battles in ways that make no sense, in times you least expect, for results beyond anything you could have achieved on your own, because the battle was never yours to begin with. You have been fighting with anxiety, with fear, with sadness, and you have been trying to fight it all on your own. But listen, God is speaking to you right now, saying, stop trying to carry this in your own strength. This battle belongs to me. When you truly understand that the battle is the Lord's, everything shifts. You stop trying to force the win and start standing in the victory that is already won. You stop living like the result depends on your effort and start resting in the assurance that God has already secured it. Now, that does not mean you just fold your arms and do nothing. No, it means you rise up in faith, not fear. It means you pray with boldness instead of panic. It means you speak the promises of God with authority instead of letting the enemy fill your mind with lies and doubt. Remember what happened at the Red Sea. The Israelites stood trapped. Pharaoh's army behind them, the sea in front of them, and it looked like the end. But then God told Moses in Exodus 14:14, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." In that stillness, God moved. He made a way where there was no way. He parted the waters, and what looked like a den became the very path to freedom. That is what happens when you stop trying to control the result and start trusting the one who holds it. God fights battles in ways you cannot imagine. He opens doors you did not see. He brings breakthrough that makes it clearly obvious. This wasn't your doing. This was his power. So today, I don't know what battle you are in. Maybe it is in your mind, your family, your money, or your future. But I do know this: you are not fighting alone. You were never meant to carry this weight by yourself. God is with you. He is for you, and he is already moving on your behalf. Let go of the fear. Release the anxiety. Stop trying to figure it all out, because the battle isn't yours. It is the Lord's, and he is already at work. So before we end, I want to invite you to take a moment and breathe. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the fear. And let us shift our focus back to the one who holds it all together. If you have been carrying a weight you were never meant to carry, this is your moment to give it up to God. Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, we come before you with hearts wide open, laying down every weight we've carried, every fear we have kept, and every battle we have tried to fight alone. Today we surrender. We admit that we have tried to fix things in our own strength, but we now know that the battle is not ours. It is yours. Lord, you are our defender, our safe place, our help that is always there in times of trouble. Teach us to be still and know that you are God. Teach us to trust when we cannot understand.